Who is Callum at the start of The Dragon Prince? There are a lot of good words we might use to describe him, but confident and self-assured would certainly not be on that list. Callum is the opposite of confident, and he does not trust himself, and he does not trust a lot of those around him, with the exception of his brother, Ezrin, and his stepfather, King Harrow. But soon enough, Harrow is dead, and Callum has to take care of Ezrin himself. This would be difficult in the best of circumstances, but considering the abysmal state of the world, and considering how little Callum knows about himself, let alone other people, it is close to impossible. It is a road of pain and suffering, and it likely would have ended in disaster had it not been for the influence of a particular Moonshadow elf who starts the series by attempting to kill him. Little did he know that the person he had to stop from killing himself and his brother would change his life forever, and in a good way. When he is with Rayla, he is confident. When he is with Rayla, he is self-assured. When he is with Rayla, he can transcend the anxieties that so bother him early in this show and move on to what matters most, trying desperately to create a lasting peace between humans and elves. But how did this happen? He did not suddenly wake up one day and realize that Rayla had made his life much better. Rather, it was a slow and gradual process. The two of them, Rayla and Callum, are quite similar. They are both outsiders. They are both rejected by their societies, and they do not know what to do if they cannot, or will not, fit into the molds that society has prescribed for them. They don't know what path to take. They only know the path that they have been seemingly condemned to by their societies. Callum recognizes these similarities early. He is the one who constantly tries to break the ice between them, even as Rayla remains sullen and standoffish. They are not so different, despite what they originally think, but this does not necessarily mean there are no differences between them. These differences exist, and it is these differences that allow Rayla to change Callum's life. Despite being as much of an outsider as Callum, Rayla is brave and adventurous and selfless. She is willing to sacrifice anything, even her own life, in order to fight for what she believes in. Unlike Callum, who is at best skeptical toward the idea of adventure, Rayla leaps toward it without restraints. She revels in it, and it makes her feel alive. To Callum, her grace seems effortless, especially considering that she, like him, has constantly been viewed as a disappointment. And she, like him, has always had to listen to a bunch of groups of people tell her who she should be. This does not change everything in Callum's world at first. It would have been dissonant with what we know about Callum if, upon seeing Rayla do all this, his response was, "Oh yeah, I can totally do all that too. I can be Rayla. It's not that hard." Instead, his response is to see Rayla as a rare and valuable person, which is more than she can say for herself. At this point, Rayla is much more timid than she pretends to be, and her self-loathing tinges her apparently boundless confidence. But Callum sees her as this amazing and remarkable person, someone he can and should admire. When Callum learns of Rayla's weaknesses, his simplistic idealization of her kind of fizzles out in a way, but it's replaced by something a lot more supportive and empathetic. None of this is to say he stops viewing Rayla as a remarkable person. The first 2 times they kiss are preceded by Callum earning Rayla's smile by just reeling off a whole list of amazing things about her, unprompted. Rayla is not a person who is used to being complimented. She is much more used to criticism. But Callum eventually grows to understand that Rayla's heroicness is not in spite of her weaknesses, but rather because of them. She is not perfect. She has far more doubts than she is willing to admit. She does not know how to handle her emotions properly, and she makes wrong decisions almost as often as she makes right ones. But she is exciting and caring, and she is willing to do almost anything in order to advance her goals, because she believes those goals are moral and right. Her convictions are strong. As Callum grows, he learns to do this too. Part of this is because he is a significantly more skilled mage as the series progresses. But that's not the whole picture. Not even close. Callum is not nearly as dangerous as Rayla in one-on-one combat, nor does he have Rayla's years of training as an assassin. But what he does attain is Rayla's daring, her willingness to try crazy plans and not doubt those plans once they're in progress. He showcases this in the first episode of Season 1, when he and Rayla are trying to escape the fiery breath of the human-hating dragon Rayllum, who yearns to burn them both alive. However, Callum's greatest demonstration of his newfound boldness comes at the end of Season 3. This is right after Rayla proves her own boldness and ability to self-sacrifice by killing Viren by knocking him off a cliff. She goes down too, but Callum, in his braveness, goes after her. This is a risky maneuver. Sure, he has this wing spell, but he has not been particularly good at it. He has never gotten it to work before, and he has no real reason, logically, to think it'll work this time. But he does it anyway, and it works, and he saves Rayla. All he has is his faith in himself and his love for Rayla, and that turns out to be enough. It's worth asking why he was able to produce the wings this time. Was it just this sudden upsurge in affection for Rayla? Well, that's a romantic idea, and that is certainly part of it. But it would be a bit reductive to assume that is all it was. What was, I think, even more important was his complete confidence in himself. He had to believe this would work. The alternative was him and Rayla dying alongside Viren. So he made himself believe. And this takes us to the final way in which Rayla helped Callum change for the better. It is not just that he is more confident. It is not just that he is more willing now to implement schemes that he would have before dismissed as completely crazy and senseless and illogical. It is also that he has managed to shake off the conceptions others have of him. No longer does he internalize conceptions of himself as nothing but a step prince who does not deserve the title of royalty, and who only has that title because his now deceased mother married the king. That may sound like the exact same thing as self-confidence, and indeed, the two are related, but they're not exactly the same. It's not just confidence, it's about him finally being able to forge his own identity, separate from the identity those around him from the time he was young have tried to foist upon him. Callum accepted early on the idea that being a hero means fitting into the established role of what a leader is. It means that you're a skilled warrior both on foot and on horseback. But when he learns that Rayla managed all her heroics despite being considered the daughter of two traitors her entire life, more or less, he finally understands that heroism is not about any of that. It is not about rank. It is not about image. It is simply about doing what is right despite the negative practical consequences for doing so. Only when he understands that can he substantiate the spirit of the traditional hero by saving Rayla. Only then can he define himself on his own terms. Rayla helped him become a person who forges his own destiny. So thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Donate to my Patreon if you can, and you want to see more videos like this. Keep watching The Dragon Prince. It is a brilliant, evocative, thoughtful show that is only getting better with time. Also, I'm sorry if I seem a little tired as I'm recording this. I've had to re-record this analysis a few times because my recording software hasn't been complying with my wishes. Hopefully this time it works. Anyway, tune in soon for my next analysis. It will be coming soon. Thank you all again. Adios, comrades.